up, everyone? It's your girl Shay here, and welcome to my channel. If you are new, welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. And as you can see by the title of today's video, I actually want to talk more about piracy within anime, and mostly talk about, has piracy in any way helped the anime community? I do know that there's this weird, not really a weird, but there's this ongoing talk about piracy within anime and whether or not it has helped the community or has it actually hindered it. It's also the whole thing of a lot of people still wanting to pirate anime pretty much to this day and continuing to pirate it no matter how much companies try to do to try and eliminate piracy as much as possible. Now, I'm not going to say that piracy is going to completely disappear, because I feel like piracy is going to always be around in some shape or form, but I did want to delve a little bit deeper into seeing whether or not anime has helped the community. Now, I'll be honest, me myself at the beginning, before I started to do a little bit of research, I honestly didn't think that piracy had helped in any way. But after looking through a few forums and a few different, websites where people had blogged about it, I kind of saw that, okay, yes, anime has definitely benefited from some sort of piracy. Let me talk about that just a little bit more. So one of the ways that piracy, or one of the ways that anime has actually been helped by piracy, is pretty much by it bringing anime to the West. Now, this isn't to say that anime wasn't already in the West, because it definitely was, but it did actually help to increase the popularity of anime in the West. And that's because, like many of us know, a lot of anime didn't get licensed by a lot of companies. So a lot of the anime that we know and loved only was available in Japan. So many of us would use different websites, or we would torrent certain shows after we heard about them for us to be able to watch for our own viewing pleasure, because we already knew that they weren't going to be picked up by bigger companies like Viz or by Funimation. This was also during the time for many of us where streaming was not how it was now. Streaming was still a relatively new thing, and a lot of the websites that we now know and love that we use to stream a lot of anime on weren't really streaming anime the way that they are now, or they weren't actually licensing properties and actually putting them on their particular streaming sites. For example, Netflix. As many of us know, Netflix has started to license a lot of anime properties, and a lot more anime has appeared on Netflix. The same can be said for like Amazon Prime. Of course, we have Crunchyroll, which is also owned by Funimation, or Funimation owns Crunchyroll, or however you want to put it. And then of course we also have Hulu. But at the time, especially during the early 2000s, streaming was not how it was. So many of us would go to these different sites to stream a lot of anime on, because a lot of anime at the time, like I've already mentioned, just was not available. Or if you were looking at anything in the 90s, anime was only on TV, and it was only what was available on certain networks. And if you did want to have a copy of a show, it was only based off of what was already licensed here. It was never anything that was only licensed in Japan, unless you had internet and you were able to go online and buy it and ship it to your house. And I don't know about anybody else, but for me in the 90s, I was a kid and the internet was not something that I frequented very often, unlike how I do now as an adult. So yeah, I will definitely say anime did benefit from that form of piracy, because a lot of us only start to get into more anime because of us being able to pirate it. And I can honestly say that I was one of those people. For me, during the later half or the earlier half of the 2010s, even then streaming wasn't what it was. And also for me, during the earlier parts of the 2000s, or the later parts of the 2000s going into the 2010s, when I started to get into anime a lot more, I would pirate a lot of my anime. I would go to a lot of illegal streaming sites and I would just binge watch shows there. And a lot of them were shows that I honestly would have never known about if it wasn't for those piracy sites, because a lot of those shows were not available on Crunchyroll, they weren't available on Funimation, and they weren't available anywhere else. So I had nowhere else to actually watch them. So that's what I did. So I will say it did help in that aspect. There's also a second argument that says that due to piracy, it did push a lot of companies to actually make some changes, and it forced competition. And I have to say, I agree with that as well. For many of us who know anything about what it was like, once again, in the early 2000s or the 90s, when it came to anime, it like I've already mentioned, wasn't really available. And when it was licensed, it was years before it actually came out here. And that is especially if you were waiting on something like a dub. How many of us remember Funimation dubbing a show and then us realizing that we wouldn't actually see this dub for about a year and a half because of how long it actually took? Or how about when a show was actually currently airing and it would take about a week, if not longer, for the subtitles to be out? So many of us would just go to other sites where someone had basically done a fan sub of it, and it was already up and readily available within hours from when it aired in Japan. So this forced a lot of the companies to be able to do both simulcasting and simuldubs in Funimation's case. So simulcasting is pretty much where a show was definitely available within a couple of hours after that aired in Japan at these bigger companies like Crunchyroll, for instance. It was already subtitled, it was already up, and it was already up for us to be able to watch, and we didn't have to wait a week and a half for us to be able to enjoy a show that we know and love. For example, like One Piece or Naruto or Bleach or My Hero Academia or any other show. And then Funimation introduced simuldub casting. Basically, this was where they would actually dub a show and have it available for you, I believe, within a couple of days. Like, it was very quick, and a stark difference from us having to wait a year and a half for a complete dub. Now we were able to watch a show dubbed super fast. And this was because they were trying to combat a lot of the piracy that was happening. A lot of fans were saying, why should we wait a week and a half or a year and a half for you guys to dub a show or subtitle a show when I can go to this obscure website and watch it in literally a matter of a couple of hours of it airing in Japan? What is the point of me paying for it? And companies saw that, and companies were like, how can we combat it? And this was their way of combating it. I will definitely say that piracy did help in that aspect. It helped where it forced a competition with bigger companies for them to be able to make some sort of profit. And without that competition, a lot of companies wouldn't have made the strides like they have today. We wouldn't have the streaming services like we have today. And we definitely, wouldn't have so many shows readily available at our fingertips if it wasn't for piracy. Now, I do want to say though, I'm not someone that is for piracy. I'm very much against piracy. I definitely feel that because of the strides that a lot of companies have made today, a lot of people should pay for the shows that they're watching, especially if a show is currently licensed, especially if a show is already airing on Crunchyroll or Funimation or on Netflix. And I feel like that is where a lot of the divide is. And I feel like a lot of anime fans feel a particular way because some people are like, I don't want to, help pay for these shows because it is being put out by a company that I do not like or a company that I do not agree with. So I do not want to support said company. And I understand that, and you are definitely entitled to your opinion when it comes to that. But I also do want to say, a lot of times that is hurting a lot of the shows that you know and a lot of the shows that you love, because it forces some people to realize or think that a show isn't making a lot of money, so therefore they stop producing it. They stop making it. They're like, what's the point of making this show if no one's watching? When in reality, people love the show. People are watching the show. They're just not watching it in a way that can be tracked or can be known by these bigger companies. So that is where I'm like, there has to be a line drawn. There has to be a line drawn between when it is okay or beneficial to pirate a show or pirate something, and when is it no longer beneficial. When is it just hurting the shows and the companies that we know and love, and when is it actually helping them? Like I've said, yes, I have seen where piracy has helped. I've seen where piracy has helped to bring a lot of shows to the West and make anime super popular because people were sharing the shows that weren't available here. And it also forced companies to be able to make changes so that fans were happy and fans were readily and willing to use their service because they were able to get it as quickly or as fast as they were able to get from obscure websites. Now, granted, that still made where people didn't want to pay for it, but companies did make these changes. But now, where should piracy stop? Should piracy stop because of the fact that a show is now licensed? I think so, yes. I mean, how would you feel if a show that you put all your all into now you're realizing that it's on these sites and people aren't paying for it. You'd be very upset because your hard work went into that show and you're trying to make money off of it, but then people are taking it and watching it completely for free. You wouldn't like that, would you? The same thing how people don't want their artwork put up on certain sites or stuff like that because it's not theirs to put up, it's yours. So I feel like there's a line that should be drawn from piracy, but I'm also not going to sit here and say that piracy didn't help anime in some way, because it definitely did. But I also do want to say that piracy also will probably continue to force these companies to grow and to change. Now, do I think that it's going to force companies to make anime free? Definitely not, because they're companies and they have to make some sort of profit. So of course, having a subscription model is the best way to do that. And I feel like that's never going to change. But I do think that people should start paying for the anime that they enjoy, especially, like I said, if it is already licensed by a particular company and that company is doing everything that they can to get that show to us. Now, I'm only talking about the States, United States, basically, because I know that there are some people who live outside of this country that still don't have access to a lot of shows. But once again, that's due to licensing and IPs and copyright and stuff like that. Stuff that's a lot bigger than I even know and that I don't have a lot of insight into as far as how that all completely works. And there's always going to be shows that will probably never air here due to different reasons that I think I said in another video. And yeah, that's always going to happen. But yeah, so overall with this video, piracy has helped in some way when it comes to the anime, and it has helped in some way when it comes to the anime community in two particular ways, which I've already discussed. But I still have to say that at some point piracy has to stop in some aspects. But I'm also, like I said, not going to say that piracy didn't help in some way. So yeah, that's my video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the research that I was able to come up with or able to find pretty much. I don't have anything as far as numbers are concerned, like what percentage and stuff like that, because I don't think there is a percentage, but it was kind of interesting to read up more on how piracy has actually helped, and for me myself to actually think about it and realize that I also benefited from a lot of this piracy when it came to me finding out about a lot of animes that I had never known about before. But like I said, I don't condone piracy. I'm just saying, I'm not going to sit here and say that piracy didn't help in some way when it comes to the anime community, but I also feel that people should pay for the shows that they are enjoying in some aspects, because we have also seen how piracy has hindered the anime community and has caused some shows to no longer be produced, has caused a lot of problems. And we've also seen that a lot of these bigger companies, and as far as Japan is concerned, has put out a task force to take down a lot of these illegal sites. So even they see that it has hindered the community as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video. Comment below your thoughts. If you are someone who is for piracy, definitely, of course, give me your reasonings why. I like having conversations with people about this topic. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon with a new video. I have links below all my social media accounts, my Instagram, my Twitter, and of course I have my TikTok, so feel free to follow me and subscribe, however that works, on there as well. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys soon with a new video. All right, you guys, bye.